No, thank you all for being here as we have the highlight of our youth summit. And it is to welcome our town hall members to hear some of the great ideas that we've generated over the week. So this morning, what we're going to do is start with a blessing from Peter Pino, who is a Kiva leader with the Zia people. And we have a youth summit tradition, which you're going to hear more about later, which what was your wow moment? And we say, what was your wow moment of the experience what you were doing? And then what was your wow moment of the summit? The summit, the whole summit was my wow moment. Seeing the young people and how they have responded to learning about archaeology, about the Pueblo people, about public land management, and about sharing the stories of the places here. But last night when we were at Balcony House with the sun setting and the full moon rising and looking at these young people listening to Peter Pino and his family in Balcony House, that was a wow moment for me, and it was a once in a lifetime, and thank you so much. So before I go any further, if you could welcome us to this place. Thank you. And you could use either the wired equipment.
Thank you, Ann. Yesterday when I addressed you, I used my native language, and I'm going to do the prayer in my native language again this morning. And you all look so different from yesterday, all dressed up and prettied up. I think you're a good group of students, smart, energetic, attentive. I like that. Those are good qualities in a person, and you all have that. So I'm going to say a prayer in my native language, and at the end I'll briefly summarize the meaning of the prayer. Emeho puchunyi tu tikuchokoyach shatsaya chame shanawe chame sanich suachimut nu kashashuti shanaya shakaya shamasich diuna tu tistina tu tikao chantu tu no katikao shuni tu tipewan shjao yiti puni kuni hani Tini nazi tu shashanya tu sati mayani tu jicho kuyachak inia kawe makashpi tu stjao tu kucho kuyach ekatisi mayani tu new ita tu shoma iani pacha winshka unani diuna iwas tu kokuyach aiti tu nie iani tu sitaite no macho kokumu sayo tu ne chuchan tu kuni ishkshukanya haitish kakanya haitish kukchanya tu nautsoni tuutsi kusaata heikka kuteku majani ei kaat utia umat tuutsi no cheichani tuutsi kusaata tuutsi niuita tuutsi shoma tiuna kuta majani tuutsi kuchokujach tuutsi sinati tuutsi shaatski sini seonsk sanas soutsu sanat yutsiti hahtichani tuutsi suchuchan siakatsa kosa ipashiutsi noch majani chat tuutsi sinati tuutsi seatski sini seonsk sanakasena tuutsi soutsan tuepaetjam Sichan waspahana koetira taas susi shao majani atsinia suht kut siti tsasuchan huihtu ja hea tsaskan hea tsitiume kaskan tu tsitichu chani hema hotu tsichapaitsanye. You may be seated. The prayer acknowledges the spirits of our forefathers in this region, and I had summoned them to come from the north, from the west, from the south, from the east, from up and from under, to come join us here this morning and to give us guidance and to allow us to say what would be beneficial to the group that are here attending this town hall this morning. I thank Father Sun and Father Moon for being with us today and being with us last evening, and also Mother Earth. And I asked for their blessings so that I can breathe that breath into my body and breathe that breath onto you so that you can take the blessing back home. Each one of you are like a ripple. Each one of you is like a conduit. You take that answered prayer back to your home. And when you get back home, you breathe that breath into your home. And in the future, any family members, any strangers that come to your home will be blessed by the prayer that I said here this morning. So essentially, when we do prayers, we're not doing it just for the people that are present. We do it for the people that you left behind, your parents, your siblings, your grandparents, family members, community members. So essentially, the prayer is like a ripple as well. It goes into the elements. It goes into nature. It goes into different places, different sites. And I name myself. It's almost like signing a letter. You name yourself to identify yourself. So I used my Indian name and my clan name. My clan is Sagebrush, and my Indian name is Kuwaitira, which means holy water. So I identify myself, use my body as a conduit to be able to transfer that answer to the prayer to you all that are here this morning. So with that, I wish that we have a good morning and a good session. And
Thank you. I will be introducing the panel in a moment, but I wanted to welcome George McDonald here from Washington, D.C., who coordinates all the youth and volunteer programs for the National Park Service for the country. And I've asked him to say a few words to welcome our Youth Summit. George.
Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing? So I'm George McDonald. I work out of Washington, D.C. For the National Park Service. I'm the National Youth Programs Manager, and what that means is that I have to create 100,000 youth employment positions for people just like you. 1 million volunteer service opportunities so that in places like this all across this country, we can engage your generation in saving and preserving our history of this great country. So how did I get here? Well, I was born and raised in New York City, and it's a lot different in New York City than what it is here. But I was around a lot of national park sites in New York, and my exposure was through places like the Hamilton Grange, which was 2 blocks from where I lived, which talked about one of our founding fathers and his house, which he built on this hill where I live many years later, was preserved by the National Park Service. And that was sort of my introduction with why history is so important. And what amazes me is how we've got you guys out here coming here, spending a whole week. And what I've been told is that you're going to teach us old fogies how to get it right. And I hope that you all are very loud, very clear, and very direct, because we need you to keep our country moving in the right direction. And it's going to be up to your generation to preserve places like this that have thousands of years of history. And it's also going to be up to you to expose your friends, your family members, people around you, your associates, to why it's important to save the history of our great country. And the history of our great country dates back even further than what the founding of the United States of America, as you will see in this part. And it's also important that we look at other cultures that embrace and make up the whole kaleidoscope of the United States, and embrace those cultures, embrace the history of those cultures, because the history of those cultures have made it possible for us to be where we're at today. So to that, I'd like to welcome everyone. I'd like to also say that I hope that you all are having a really, really good time, because part of being with the National Park Service, and this is the secret, and don't tell this, spread it too wide, but all of us who work for the National Park Service and for the Bureau of Land Management and the Fish and Wildlife Service, we actually are having fun while we work. So we don't like to wear ties to work, and we like to be outside, And like part of what I do is that I have to create opportunities to play. I think our Secretary Jules says that we have to get 12 million young people playing in national parks. So that's what we do. And I hope that these experiences will inspire you to work for one of our land management agencies or part of the Department of Interior and carry on this important legacy. So to that, thank you for inviting me here, and I hope you all have a great time.
And Cliff Spencer, we were inspired by him when we drove into Mesa Verde, the superintendent, who helped us put together a great program since we've been here. Pretty much, thank you for your team for about, I don't know, 30 hours of programming. I'm sure that today they feel like it was 250 hours. But Cliff, I know you wanted to say welcome. And
welcome again to everyone. Thanks for being here for the week. And I know for one thing, the folks, all of the cultural resources folks, I see you sitting back there, really enjoyed doing the sessions with you yesterday and on Wednesday as well. So you may have gotten something out of it and some enjoyment out of it, but I'm sure they got just as much out of it as well. So yes, okay. And without further ado, I'll just introduce Laura Joss. She's the Deputy Regional Director for the Intermountain Region and Chief of Staff.
Thank you, Cliff. The hotter it gets, the shorter my words are getting. So I want to thank Cliff and his staff very much for hosting here at Mesa Verde. I know it's a lot of work. And Jim Dugan and his, where did Jim go? Oh, there he is. Jim and his staff at Hovenweep. And Jim's also our superintendent at Natural Bridges, so he wears a couple hats. I know that Hovenweep was a success because one of my daughters, who's anonymously here in the crowd, texted that she would like to be an archaeologist now after going through your program. So, and that's very cool. I hope many of you have the same follow-up or feelings after this program. I am here on behalf of Regional Director Sue Massica. She really wanted to be here, had planned to be here, had a sad family emergency with the passing of her father last week. So she sends her best, and she, I know, would join me in thanking Ann Pritzloff for all her work on this program. Ann is an amazing bundle of energy, as you kids probably know already. And in May, we were really pleased to see Ann get recognized by receiving the annual Dana Crawford Award for Excellence in Preservation from Colorado Preservation, Inc. And it's largely due to her creating Youth Summit and her significant contribution toward preserving Colorado's historic resources and, of course, forming the Youth Summit program. We give you full credit for that. So it's wonderful that you've done that. Youth Summit has been around since 2007, and the Park Service has been lucky to be engaged in it most of that time. And each year it's been hit or miss whether we could participate or afford to fund Youth Summit. But I have some really great news thanks to George's help and Nathan Souter, who's in the back. Can you wave, Nathan? He's the movie star looking guy back there. Nathan is he's the head of our youth programs and volunteer programs and a lot of other things in the regional office. But thanks to their help, this program now is funded through FY15 through FY17. That's fiscal year, I should say, 2015 to 2017. And it's going to be expanding. They'll be holding 10 youth summits in 12 Park Service units across 6 states. And it's great to see that program growing. Just a personal aside, I started in the Park Service as a volunteer at Mesa Verde. I lived here one semester working in the museum collections when I was in college. I lived in a little cabin up on the rim of the canyon, no phone. Of course, you guys didn't have good cell service this week anyway, so you know how that feels. No TV, no car. I cross-country skied to work. I sound like I'm 1,000 years old, but it totally hooked me to the National Park Service. I looked around and said, how can people live and work in such beautiful areas? So I went back, got my college degree, and got encouragement from others to come back to the Park Service. And really, many people in the Park Service you talk to started as volunteers. And I hope you guys have an interest in working either in a park, museum, land management agency. But if you are in the Denver area, I will again point out Nathan Sauter, because Nathan runs our volunteer program, and a few of your participants are already volunteers with Nathan's office, and I'm sure he would welcome others. So with that, welcome, and thank you again for all your work this week.
Thank you, Laura, so much. And we are delighted to be expanding our role in the Intermountain region with the National Park Service in partnership with Conservation Legacy. The Youth Summit started in 2007. Thank you for singing my praises and telling part of the past. I was honored to serve in the Bush and Obama administrations on the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation, and became aware that there were very few youth opportunities in cultural heritage and heritage tourism and historic preservation. So it was one of those moments where it's like, we'll just go back to Colorado and start one. And thanks to our sponsors, the State Historical Fund, who has been a sponsor since 2007, and also to the National Park Service. We are most grateful for all of the support and sponsorship. And we've been also sponsored every year by the History Channel since 2007. And then each summit of our 27 summits we have now done in 3 states and Washington, D.C., we join in with local sponsors. So we were honored this time to have Mary Lynn and Richard Ballantyne sponsor it, and of course had the cooperation of many of our partners that you're going to meet and learn today about their role in the program. What I wanted to do is introduce our panel, tell a little bit about what we're going to do, and then we're just going to go into it, because that's what everyone's here for. So we have a little gift for our panel members, and I am going to start. I was going to do it by hierarchy, but I'm going to start so that our Youth Summit alumni and one of our superheroes, Zach Rios, who's a freshman at Stanford University, is here working on the media and communications team. And with the Youth Summit, as you'll see, if you're walking by me, you get tagged to do something. Zach is hard to hide, so he gets called upon a lot. So we're going to start just over here. I'd like to introduce Harry Brule with Conservation Legacy, our new partner with the Youth Summit with Conservation Legacy, working on volunteer programs. And then Anthony Madrid, the District Ranger for the United States Forest Service. We really appreciated our program at Chimney Rock National Monument. And then Darlene Marcus with the Office of Scott Tipton. The Youth Summit has met with Congressman Tipton twice in Washington, D.C., and we've had the opportunity to communicate with Darlene. Thank you so much. And then Marietta Eaton. We had a terrific day at Canyons of the Ancients National Monument with you, the manager of Canyons of the Ancients National Monument and the Bureau of Land Management. Thank you. And working on that program was Coy Bryant with Kinder Morgan, the production manager for Kinder Morgan, who helped us learn more about public lands and their mixed use and how you work with your corporate partners and the economic impact of that. Aaron Minks from Senator Udall's office, no secret to the Youth Summit. The Youth Summit has met with Udall several times, both in Colorado and in Washington, D.C. He's on the right committees. So is Congressman Tipton. And Aaron Meeks was at our first Youth Summit in 2007, and it was also really hot. And then Laura Joss, the Deputy Regional Director of the Intermountain Region of the National Park Service. Larry Turk with one of our partner parks, Aztec National Park, where we'll be going next year. And then Brian Drapo, with the Bureau of Indian Education, who's on assignment with the National Park Service. We're honored and delighted to have you here from Washington, D.C. Then, of course, Cliff Spencer, the superintendent of Mesa Verde National Park. And then Ron with Conservation Legacy, also our partners now with the Youth Summit. And then Richard, thank you so much for being here. Richard Wilshedson, the state archaeologist, Deputy State Historic Preservation Officer, and here representing History Colorado, our major sponsor. Thank you so much. George McDonald, whom you've met, who traveled from Washington, D.C. to be here to meet with you young people and to hear your advice. Thank you for seeing our program and understanding the role of heritage. We're going a little bit slow. Yes. Jim Dugan, the superintendent at Hovenweep, put together a great program for us there, and we were so delighted by the mix of activities we did, and running around Hovenweep was really a great opportunity. And then, of course, Peter Pino, you made it real for us, and then coming to Balcony House last night added so much for us. Thank you very much. So what we're going to do is the way the town hall works. I've asked the media and communications team to speak and to tell us a little bit about the Youth Summit. If you could join me, please. What we're going to do is you're going to hear just a quick overview of what the Youth Summit is. Leadership is really important to us. So we have 4 Youth Summit alumni who are, these 3 are recent graduates of college who have attended a number of our Youth Summits and are very talented individuals with a range of areas that they have particular expertise in. And then Zach Rios, whom I already called out, who's a freshman at Stanford University. They all used the Youth Summit in their applications for college, in their ways to aspire and share their leadership. And I asked them to come forward and to say what a Youth Summit is for those of us that are guests and why it's important, and a little bit about what we did this week. So Zach.
So I'm Zach, and Ann asked me to give you guys a little background on what Youth Summit is. Youth Summit is a program for middle school and high school students that really focuses on getting youth involved in historic preservation in the state of Colorado, and thankfully we're spreading to other states. What we do is we visit a community where historic preservation is experiencing some issues that need to be addressed, and we spend a week learning about the different perspectives on the history and about the history itself. And at the end of the week, we meet with groups of leaders like you, and we present our ideas on how we can revitalize and preserve those histories. Yeah. Day one? All right. So day one of this week was a lot of bus riding, but we got down here and we started to have a good time right away. We went up to Chimney Rock, and we just got to experience the amazing scenery up there, and we're just amazed at the ability of the people who lived there to live there. It's a very incredible place to be and an incredible experience, and we really enjoyed it. Oh, we also learned about the importance of volunteers to all of our sites, but especially Chimney Rock, where everybody except for one person running that site is a volunteer. So we really got to get a taste for what goes into these parks and how much work and how passionate these people really are about this history and about preserving it. All right.
Paul, welcome.
Hi, I'm Paul Marchendo, and I just graduated from Highlands Ranch High School, and I'll be attending University of Colorado Boulder next year. So on our second day, we started off with a presentation from Coy Bryant, who is one of the representatives from the Kinder Morgan Foundation, the Kinder Morgan Company, and he told us about the CO2 collection. There's a big CO2 natural deposit right inside Canyon of the Ancients National Monument, and he discussed how there's some issues with communicating with the national park members to make sure that we have their best interests in mind to preserve these for the public and for the Native American people while still getting as much of the natural resources out of this area as we can. And then we did go to Canyons of the Ancients National Monument and visited the Lowry Pueblo site. And our group started hearing from Dan Simplicio about the spirituality of his native Zuni people. We got to go visit the Pueblo and throw atlatls, which was a lot of fun, trying to hit a deer target. And then we went to the Anasazi Heritage Center and got to do some mock decision making, trying to seeing what that process is really like, sort of role playing like oil companies and Native American leaders. Yeah. Yep. And then we went on. We got to visit the Escalante Pueblo and see the gorgeous view of the La Plata Mountains and Mesa Verde. At the end of the day, we got to meet Samuel Sandoval, who was the Navajo Code code talker, and we got to participate in some Native American dances where we actually got to participate ourselves in a big social dance. And sort of that the theme of that day was being sort of culturally enlightened by the Native American people. Because I know I didn't really know anything. I haven't learned anything in school about it. And I remember we were talking to Becky Hammond, and she's like, "You've learned some of this stuff in school, right?" And I hadn't, and that's kind of embarrassing to me. But now that I feel enlightened, and I feel like I can take that home to my friends and family.
Okay, so for day 3, it was a National Park Service Day, which is my favorite kind of day. And I'm Lindsay Meehan, and I just graduated from Lakewood High School. I'm going to CU Boulder next year. I actually work for the National Park Service. I'm a human resources clerk there. And I got my start by volunteering. I volunteered for the National Park Service since I could walk, so it's what I do. And but we started going at Hovenweep National Park, and there we went to 4 different stations. And what we started to take away from all of those different stations was how to get kids to visit the national park. And you'll hear a lot of the different recommendations that we've come up with for the national park, and it applies to a lot of different sites in this area. My favorite part of that day was actually listening to the Hopi preservationists that work at the national park, because they gave us a very different perspective on how they feel that the park should be preserved, but also, and they think that it should go back into the earth. However, they understand that by preserving these buildings, it's an education tool. And so it was interesting to see how, even though it went against their tribe's beliefs, they understood that they wanted to educate the public, and they thought that sharing their culture was more important for some of the sites than having it live that natural cycle. And then from Hovenweep, we went to Mesa Verde National Park, where we went to their research center and new visitor center, which we thought was amazing because it's one of the most sustainable, it's a very sustainable building, and it's just gorgeous. And we got to have a behind the scenes tour. And what we all were fascinated by is we got to go into their, see all the different artifacts that they have there. And we actually got to see the different pots and everything and look at all of the artifacts that they have found and hear the stories behind them. We also got to look at some of the more historic things that are important to the park and learn about the CCC's involvement here at the national park. And from that, I took away a little, another acronym for the CCC, which is kind of a major theme for this entire youth summit. And that's communication, because all of the different sites that we went to have extreme amount of communication that they have to do with all the different organizations. And we learned that there were 24 Native American tribes that for each decision they have to make, they have to consult with every single one of them. And so the fact that they come to decisions was amazing to me, that they all work together and understand compromise. And that leads me to my second C, which is culture, and the communication of sharing these culture. And then my third C, consultation, and consulting with different organizations as well. And so that leads us to our 4th day.
Hi, I'm Zoe Doskalos. I just graduated from Mullen High School, and I'll be headed to California Polytechnic University in the fall. So yesterday we really got to explore Mesa Verde, and we started out with a service project, and we were pulling weeds in different areas, and so each of our element groups went to a different place, and we really were so amazed by this experience, and we thought it was such a great moment because we really got to give back to the places that we were learning about. And it was great to be right there in the moment. And unfortunately, we weren't able to stay for the whole day, although we would have loved to do that for the whole day because it was so much fun. But so that experience was so great. And then we divided our element groups, and we had 4 stations that we went to learn about archaeology and 4 different types of archaeology. And so in the morning, we really got to see different sites, and we looked out down the canyon and to see the sites, and we were up on the cliffs, and we learned about how the archaeologists have such a difficult time to be able to go to these places because they're not right there accessible. They have to go down and hike or go down the cliffs. And then in the afternoon, we were actually able to go to our own archaeological site and see how difficult it actually is to get there. But it was such a cool experience. And we got to go down some ladders and weave back through the canyon. It was really cool. And we learned about all the different technology that they use. And it's really amazing because there's so many different things that you could do that weren't available in the past. And now it just keeps growing and growing. And we're able to learn so much about our history from all of these different things. And after that, we met with Mr. Peter Pino. and he told us about his culture and the people and how it still continues into today and how important it is. And his family was with him, and we were blessed to have them join us on our night hike to Balcony House. And we went there, and as we can see the sun setting and the moon rising, Peter shared some music with us, and it was really great because it gave us such a great end to our trip, and we were able to really reflect and see how the culture of the area still continues today and how it is important to us. And it really gave us the inspiration to go out and continue to spread word about the places and to get people to come here and to make sure that this is something that people can enjoy, because it is important and it's something we do need to learn about because it's our history. And yeah, so it was a really great experience.
All right, I'm Paul again, and if you haven't figured out, one of the big themes of Youth Summit is acronyms. So I'm going to talk a little bit about one of our most important acronyms, and that's SOS. The first S stands for sustainability, which is making sure that these monuments and these sites are going to be here for generations to come, and identifying some threats to maybe some of these sites. We usually talk about social, economic, and environmental, but this time we added cultural because that was one of the most important things of this Youth Summit. Some social things, for example, might be reducing vandalism, increasing visitation. Some environmental things might be discussing natural disasters and even human-related things like smog or old archaeological practices that weren't necessarily that helpful. A lot of them sort of interconnect with each other. Like when we talk about the economy, we talk about consulting with energy companies to make sure that they can still get the resources that they're entitled to out and help the economy of this area while we're still being sensitive to the needs of the National Park Service and the Native American people. And culture, and then cultural was probably the most important thing. We heard from people of the Zuni Pueblo, Zia Pueblo, Hopi, Ute, Navajo, and that's just to name a few. We learned about everything from their theory of everything to something as small scale as how we should treat structures and how it's ultimately all tied together. And I think it's pretty beautiful way to think about things, because these sites, more than anything, are part of their culture, part of their heritage, and most importantly, it's their home. So we have to make sure that we have their best interests in mind. Then O stands for opportunity, and I won't talk too much about this because that's what you're all here to talk about today. You'll hear some great examples of opportunity from the other Youth Summiters here momentarily. Then the last S stands for stewardship, which is sort of jumping on your ideas or seeing the opportunities and taking them that we're presented with. We did a service project, which was a great example of stewardship, removing cheatgrass to prevent erosion on the Farview ruin and prevent fire. And also even just demonstrating leadership in your group and spreading the word is a good example of stewardship. And we saw some, I guess, real life stewardship, for lack of a better term, when we went to the Lower Pueblo and we met a site steward who, his job was to, he's a volunteer and he sort of reports on the damage to a certain site every year to the National Park Service. So that's SOS, sustainability, opportunity, and stewardship. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You are amazing. As you could see, this was not rehearsed. In fact, this is a typical Youth Summit thing. I said, you know, I hate doing the introduction to the Youth Summit, and I've done this to them before, actually. I said, I want you to tell everyone what the Youth Summit is and what we did. So this has evolved. This was as a result of asking them right around Balcony House. So as you could see, they have evolved into wonderful leaders, and I would think that you better tell Congressman Tipton and Senator Udall to watch out. You'll be having some competition. I have a gift for you for your role. They have been, they've been writing blogs and Facebook posts and doing communication and traveling between each of the element groups. Thank you. You were wonderful. Now you can read. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to get rolling. So what's going to happen is I have the Youth Summit has gone through several questions, of which are in your packets. There were about 24 questions, and they were broken down through their element groups. Their element groups are earth, wind, fire, and water, that they break down into 4 groups that they work in throughout the week. Each group is staffed by an energetic preservationist who spend their time this week working with them pretty much 24 hours a day. And then we have some teachers in each group who can carry messages home, and then teacher chaperones that also make sure, Nothing is happening when you have 87 teenagers in the same place. So I want to have all of the element leaders stand so we can recognize you, which we'll be doing a little bit more later. And then when you're standing, it'll be easier for you. Yay! So what we're going to do first is I want you all to stay in your seat for this. One of the key questions, as I mentioned, is what is your wow moment? And we do this when we get on the bus and leave somewhere, you know, like with when we were at Bureau of Land Management, you know, and what you just were hearing about. How this works, I'll ask them the question. They'll give their answer. That's your opportunity. We have 2 roving mics. If you want to ask a follow-on question or make a comment or an observation from your experience with them or the programs you work with, that's the perfect time. They'll be ready. You can come forward here to the mic. Oh, okay. They'll be ready to answer your questions. And we also can take a few questions if there's another Youth Summit that wants to respond to the panel. But we, of course, want to hear from all of you. The first question to be answered by the fire group, which is going to be Abby, Delaney, Magda, Abby, and Mitchell. The question is, how would you suggest promoting understanding of contemporary Pueblo tribes and their connections to the past to students, families, and the community? And you can speak into either of these mics.
Hello, my name is Abby Dancho. I go to Horizon High School up in Thornton. And my answer to this question is it'd be great to see a newspaper article or in the news stations a section or a program where they put a schedule of all the public events that are happening both with the contemporary Native American tribes and the National Park Service, and all of them in one place, so it's much easier to access and it's less difficult to find. And this would really attract the tourists in the area who don't really know how to get to everything, and they don't understand what, when, and where everything is. And it would also attract the community because it'd be in the local newspaper and the news. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mitchell Fosdick, and I attend Fowler High School in Fowler. My ideas for advertising the national parks in TVs or news would be...
No, that's not the right question yet. This is promoting Pueblo tribes. Okay, I'm sorry. Go on.
Okay. I was thinking to possibly pay for ads in the TV between TV shows to advertise the national parks, or even put a documentary on the History Channel. Also, in the news portion, I thought we could set apart a section to talk about the national parks and what encompasses all of the parks.
Hi, I'm Abby Willette. I go to Peaks Peak High School in Lafayette, and my idea would be a lot of schools don't have it in their curriculum, and we just don't have the funding to be able to go on field trips and go see the sites. So I think a really good way to do this would bring the Native Americans to come talk to us, because I know hearing the Native American perspective definitely helped me it hit me better than it would have if a teacher was teaching me it. And so having the Native Americans come and teach us about their culture would be really cool.
Good morning, I'm Delaney Santoro, and I go to Dakota Ridge High School in Lakewood. Bringing in Native Americans to schools is a great way to incorporate the culture. On a more day-to-day basis, we considered into the curriculum of students putting more cultural Native American things, and since that's so hard to incorporate into normal classes, we were thinking that in art and music and gym programs, we could give them a hands-on experience while teaching them some of the history. For example, in elementary school, kids could learn to play Native American flute songs or do dances. And through middle school and high school, when they make coiled pots, they could learn some of the history of where those pots first originated. And also, for us, using the atlatls was a really, really great experience. And I think incorporating that into gym in middle school and high school would be a very great idea. Thank you.
Throwing spears in schools. It's a new thing. Be fun.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Magdalena Castillo and I also attend Horizon High School up in Thornton. In the past few days, I've got to visit some incredible sites and national parks, and I couldn't help but noticing that art is a very important part of culture here, not only in ancient history, but in contemporary tribes as well. And so, in order to promote better understanding of contemporary tribes and their connection to history to the families and communities out here, I think it would be a great idea if the national parks host a art show at least once a year, so that way people can come and not only enjoy and celebrate the beautiful art in selling and buying and viewing, but also they'll be in an area where they can look around and want to know more about the history of what they see.
Thank you. Well done. And we just stay for just a question. We've lumped our questions into 4 study themes. The one that they're responding to is advancing the appreciation of cultural heritage. And I think you all did great. I would like to open it up to the panel if they have any comments on that. We have one more question on cultural heritage also, if you wanted to wait for that or, yes.
The idea of Native Americans going to different schools, I retired from my pueblo at the end of January this year, and I've had opportunities to go to different schools. The last school that my wife Stella and I went to was Eastern Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. The university there, I addressed 4 different classes, and the experience that my personal experience and the experience of the students was very beneficial mutually. So I think that's a good idea that Native Americans can do that. And then the students could also come to the different tribes, to the different pueblos. Last night at Balcony House, I mentioned that you all are invited to come to Zia Feast Day on August 15th. It's the same date every year. So if you do it this year, fine. If it's next year, that's okay too. Or 5, 10, 15 years from now, that feast day will be on the same date. So you're welcome to come and feast and Pueblo food and enjoy the dances.
Any other? Yes, I think we have 2 roving mics.
I think it depends on your audience. If your audience, you want to reach out to youth, then definitely the internet, Facebook, Instagram. Instagram's really big right now. What other? I'm not
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of the social
What is it you're
networking.
yelling out over here? I know we're going to talk about social media. Twitter.
Twitter. Apparently that made a comeback. And
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
yeah.
Any other panel comments, and we'll move to our next question. The next question, thank you. You may. In advancing the appreciation of cultural heritage, we're welcoming from the WIND group. The question is one that we talked about a lot. America is now a melting pot of many cultures. Why is the sharing of stories of the Pueblo people relevant and important to you and relevant to others?
Hi, I'm Catherine Distel, and I go to Horizon High School up in Thornton. And sharing the stories of the Puebloan people are really important because it has priceless culture and it has universal value that everyone from all over the world can come and appreciate. This is really important to share with others because it's a way that you can grow and learn from the past.
Hi, I'm Jaslyn Vigil. I go to North Glen STEM High School up in Thornton. And another reason would be the places, stories, and artifacts are irreplaceable items. No matter how much the world changes, this history is always going to matter. And even if the stories are carried on through the future, into the future, and through our generations, it's we're still gonna have the same history.
Hi, I'm Shaylin Herman, and I will be going to Douglas County High School. The Puebloan people's stories help people from all over the world understand like their beliefs and what they believe in, and like how we can relate to like their culture and stuff.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Kalk. I'm from Westminster, and I'm getting ready to go into Legacy High School in the fall. Hearing the stories and the voices of the Pueblo people help us get a better understanding of their culture, which is extremely important. Also, it gives us a new perspective and helps us be thoughtful of not only the people in and around the community, but also the archaeological sites and the artifacts that we work so hard every day to preserve. An alumni in the Youth Summit group, Zach Rios, helped me realize that no matter what happens to the archaeological sites and the artifacts, we will always have the stories that give us extremely important information about where the Pueblo people came from. And that, to me, to the Pueblo people and to the community, is one of the most important things to share and preserve. Thank you.
Yes, so that was all of you, yes. Comments from the panel or questions? Yes, George.
Okay. So I have, for one thing, you guys gave a great presentation. Have you ever thought about a peer-to-peer program where you can take the lessons that you've learned from this trip and share that with your peer group as a way to preach against discriminating against other cultures and other people, and then also as a way to unify the various citizens that come from different cultures in our great country?
Yeah, I can use this one. That actually wasn't brought up in our group, but it does sound like a really good idea. Mostly what we discussed was just sharing it with our friends, but not necessarily creating a special group, because we felt that just in normal conversation, in everyday conversation, when you're with a friend, you can share a lot of that information. But creating a group is a really good way to formally share the cultures and the opinions of the Pueblo people.
Yes.
Wow, I sort of had a related question to George's, but thinking there are 87 of you here and you're all going back to different high schools with probably hundreds of other people that don't have this experience, and how do you get the lessons that you learned that obviously had a huge impact on you this week to your friends, to the rest of the people out there, because you are such a small number of the representation of what you have in your schools?
For me, my friends know that I'm here, and so every day when I go back to the hotel, I share the pictures that I've taken with them, and I tell them what I've been doing, and we have this whole conversation. And so I just share the pictures and tell them what I'm doing, and they actually think it's really cool. So they're thinking of actually coming here sometime soon.
I have a comment and observation. Essentially, in my presentation yesterday, I talked about that melting pot, and I'm glad those words came up this morning. And what I told you yesterday, and I'd like for the adults within this session to hear that as well. We don't want to be part of that melting pot as a group. We always want to be that interesting side dish, that vegetarian sandwich that comes from the earth. We want to always be that. We don't want to lose our identity. We feel that this is one of the requirements that was bestowed upon us by our mother at the beginning of time. So I want everybody to know that as Native American people, we don't want to be ended up in that melting pot. We always want to be that interesting side dish.
Yes, Richard. I think you can reach this one. Others.
me see if, is this one on? Okay, great. I wanted to say how much your wow moments moved me and actually took me back 45 years ago to a moment I hadn't thought of. When I was a junior in high school, and I had a wow moment, I went and met a bunch of Apollo astronauts who were about to launch to go to the moon. And they took a picture of the Earth as they went around the moon. And that picture changed my life in a strange way. And I'm just observing that 45 years later, that 45 years ago, we had to go to outer space to figure out what we were doing. Now we're actually looking back at the Earth. We're looking back at the people on this Earth and the rich diversity and the deep history we have. And I would just challenge you to think about, what is the image? What is the picture in your head that is sort of that captures that wow moment? And it just, anyway, it obviously moved me because I hadn't thought of that in a long time. So thank you all.
Wonderful. Other comments on the appreciation of cultural heritage and any questions for our young people? Thank you. You did great. You set a high bar for the rest of the groups today. Thank you. The appreciation of cultural heritage helped to shape our program, as of course does Preserving America's Special Places, which was our other study theme. And here, of course, we explored many areas of historic preservation and immersed ourselves, thanks to Scott Travis and his team, the program we had here in archaeology. I think we've created a lot of future archaeologists and archaeological stewards. So we have two questions under Preserving America's Special Places that the Fire and Wind group are going to be answering. So the first question is, some places we visited have been restored or rebuilt. Others remained unexcavated in a natural state or allowed to deteriorate. What did you gain or learn from experiencing these different approaches to preservation? And what information would help you prioritize treatment?
Hi everyone, I'm Emma Ringman and I go to Mullen High School. This week we learned and visited a lot of different sites, and we learned about how we preserve them and protect them. And we also learned how the best treatment of their ancestral sites are. We also learned that the spirits of the past Native Americans still are there. So we heard that there were a lot of conflicting ideas between the archaeologists and the Native American people about what they should do about them, because the Native Americans believe that their spirits are still there and the archaeologists want to preserve it for later people, but the Native Americans said they wanted it to return to the earth. So we have to decide which would be more preferable, whether we need to restore it and protect it or just leave it be. So my friends are going to talk about what we took away from this.
Hi, my name is Mason Miller, and I go to South Park High School in Fairplay, Colorado. Some of the problems with fixing or restoring the sites that exist, restoring the sites has a purpose of attracting other people to visit and feel the benefits of the parks. Also, restoring could be done wrongly, resulting in the accidental presentation of incorrect history. Preserving, adding plaster or other substances can make the beautiful architectural sites less appealing.
Hi, I'm Aubrey from South Park High School. And we also mentioned that the treatment that some of the archaeologists use can offend some Native American people. So we noticed some of the ideas of the Native Americans were not taken seriously, and that the archaeologists wanted to adjust the sites so they could continue to benefit them. We also heard that the descendants of the ancestral Puebloan people could not touch the artifacts that belonged to the family in the past, which is a problem. Most of the disrespect was quickly apologized and did not mean any harm. These events still awakened us to believe that the Native Americans should be the ones to decide what should happen to the ancestral sites. with the question of preservation, we must consider the suggestions from the Native Americans with great priority. We must follow the advice of the Hopi, Zuni, and Oshawi, Ute, Navajo, and other Native American people to determine the best way to carry out the procedures of restoring, preserving, or just leaving the sites to return to the earth.
Well done. I think we have future preservationists in the group. Any comments for them on their observations about treatments? Yes.
First of all, I wanted to say I'm impressed with your sensitivity to the thought that we're not preserving things, we're preserving meanings. And the meanings can't come from the dominant culture. You know, we're talking about cultural sensitivity and respect. It involves all people associated with those meanings. So kudos, you've done a great job of capturing that.
So I'm assuming that this week you guys visited both developed sites and sites that were not excavated or touched. And can you talk a little bit about your impression between the two when you visited those?
I think it was important to leave some of the excavated sites unexcavated just because that is what the Native American people wanted. It was from ash to ash and dirt to dirt, dust to dust. And being able to see them like that was also very helpful. And even the reconstructions, even though we know that it's not 100% accurate a lot of the time, it was still helpful to see, and it was a good it was a good representation to see the excavated sites and an honor, but also seeing the unexcavated sites, we get to see the progress of the actual habitat from when they had first lived in it and built it. So that was really a special experience.
Very thoughtful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
We've heard a few references to this for your generation already. Our next question in Preserving America's Special Places, how would you recommend raising the awareness and relevance of preservation and conservation in a rapidly changing, fast-paced digital world?
Hello, my name is Isabel Cunis, and I will be going to Legacy High School in Broomfield.
Hello. Okay, that's not on. Hello, my name is Kelly Mashbono. I will be attending South Park High School in Fairplay, Colorado.
Hello, my name's Alicia Thomas. I'll be going to Horizon High School in Thornton.
Good morning. I'm Victoria Badzine, and I will be going to Mountain Range High School in Northglenn next year.
Aloha. My name's Leora Bussey. I'm going to Thomas Jefferson High School, and I'm from Denver.
Hello, I'm Callie Myers. I'll be going to Skyline High School in Longmont.
In this technology-driven world, we need to raise awareness about preserving the historical sites that we visited this week. And we would do that through an app. This app wouldn't replace the experience of the national monuments, it would enhance the experience. You could learn about historical sites and architecture in Southwest Colorado from around the world or within the site itself.
Our app needs to have a purpose. We need to present awareness of these historical places. We as a Youth Summit, we get special presentations from many people, and we wish to bring that experience to the app itself. The people we met dedicate a lot of time to educate us and to educate others in the places that they love. And this would give them the credit that they deserve for working so hard. For example, we learned about vandalism from a park law enforcement. We were told the inputs of the Mesa Verde Superintendent, Cliff Spencer. We even learned a lot from the natives like Peter Pino, whose inputs actually helped us a lot with this in particular question. There are amazing facts to know, and this app will display all for easier access.
In this app, there will be pictures and videos available before and after tours to help you get more familiar with each historical site in Colorado. The pictures would give you a quick view of the site you're going to. It will also advertise the landscape for many tourists visiting Southwest Colorado.
The app would also have a video option, which would actually help a lot with parents. Superintendent Cliff Spencer told us that whenever he goes to his historical site like a national park or national monument, he always asks to see the video first. And we could save a lot of time by having a parent on the car ride there hand their phone to their kid, and they could watch it on the way there, and they could get really excited about going to see the site.
So all apps have some kind of informative, entertaining game. In our case, we believe that a scavenger hunt of historical sites and other important places is interactive and would engage people of all ages. In this scavenger hunt, information and pictures would show the history, preservation, conservation, fun facts, and even more things to engage and interest viewers. This would also publicize and raise awareness about several national parks and sites. So a scavenger hunt in this app would really help raise awareness about the importance of preservation and conservation.
Now we advertise the app. There are many ways to do this. The ways we're going to do it is websites, brochures, posters in the visitor center, and last but not least, teachers. The teachers on this trip heard our idea for the app and all said they would use this in their classroom.
Well done. And I know that in a little bit, the Earth Group is going to be talking about technology too. But a comment on their app, other than we can't wait to see it, of course. Oh, yes, George. Oh, I saw he was ready.
I'm just wondering if this is still working. I'm curious because I think we run into this a lot. We ran into this, I'm sure you guys did this week. Apps are generally tied to wireless service. And as most of you found this week in this park and many other national parks, there is no cell service. And the ability to bring in cell towers is a rigorous community conversation, to say the least. So I offered the group today, how would you make this app? Would there be pieces of it available, or to what degree would it be available in limited cell service areas?
Okay, so it is actually, there is an ability to make apps offline. I have worked with several apps that work offline and off service. And, I know that videos would be kind of hard to upload, so maybe we could make parts of those. Because I know that on the right here, there was quite a bit of cell service that we could use. But things like the scavenger hunt could easily be offline, and the pictures could be offline. So there are different things that we'd have to work out, but it could work.
This almost exact question was posed to a 4-H club that I met with almost 4 weeks ago. I mean, it's almost the exact same question and issue. And one of the things that they talked about was that the younger generation actually doesn't like these in-depth word analysis, long paragraphs describing something, and wants more visual things that are in 140 word limits like on Twitter. And the question that I have for you all is that, do you think that by going to more visual and interactive games that we would be making something that's very important superficial? And I'm not saying, I don't have an opinion one way or the other, but the 4-H club was almost split down the middle between that.
So as part of the scavenger hunt, we thought that we could include pictures of various sites along with maybe a couple sentences of information, and the videos, they would also show pretty beautiful sites as well. And so we think that when seeing the landscapes and the architecture and cliff dwellings, for example, I think that people would like to come here, and it's a great experience in my opinion. And yeah, so we were going to include a lot of pictures in different parts of the app, which I think would help bring out more of a visual experience. So I think that would work.
When we were talking about, when we were visiting with the park members, we're teenagers, we don't like to listen to long lectures, but the way that they did it was interesting, and it was more personal and stuff that we can relate to.
So we would put that technique almost into the app for kids to enjoy as well as learn.
I have a question. I'm sorry, Peter.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I just seeking your input or comment about wireless service overall. We know it's a rigorous process to get wireless service in parks, but what's your opinion of having wireless availability in national parks?
I think that having wireless ability in these parks would be a good thing and a bad thing, because I think it would be good because not only would you be able to like interact with something like our app, and it could help enhance your experience at these parks, but I also think we should, I don't know if this is possible, but limit it to a point where you can't be on your phone, on Facebook, or all these social media sites until you get back to a place with Wi-Fi, because you have to be able to look out and enjoy the outdoors.
My opinion on it is actually it is also a good and bad thing. The good thing is when you're out here, the video, certain things on the app would be more available or faster. But the bad thing is you get those skeptical teenagers who are like, "Oh, this is so old and boring." Not like us, but they are out there. They are out there, and you don't necessarily want them to be able to be on Facebook and Instagram or being like, oh, I'm being forced to be on this vacation or whatever. You want them out there and actually starting to get like, oh, this is really amazing, you know?
Yeah, as a native person, I'm always looking for natural signs, and I believe this is the Wing Group, right? Yeah. So I think your presentation was visited by Brother Wing, and essentially heard what you said and acknowledged your words, and that's a good sign.
I see an app coming. Okay. Thank you. Our next series of questions is important to all of us, which is connecting people to historic places. It's a little bit like we were talking about with the app. And the first question, the first two questions are going to be answered by the Earth Group, Michael, Oscar, Hannah, and Bridget. If you could come forward. And the first question is, I might ask these. There's one right here, which is just perfect for you. How can the National Park Service, the Bureau of Land Management, and other historic and cultural site managers make their sites and programs more engaging for your age group? Michael and Oscar, I think we're going to answer this.
Hello, my name is Michael. I live in Thornton, Colorado. So one of our ideas to make the national parks more engaging for our age group would be a stabilization activity. While we were learning about stabilization, I felt like I wanted to know more about the process and how to do it. So we would have a mini replica of a ruin made out of Play-Doh. And then with that Play-Doh, we would learn how to stabilize it and learn the process. And then with this, it would experience us with how to do it. This would engage us, and I think it would bring energy and knowledge to the site.
I'm Oscar Perez Luna, and I go to school in Chapelo in Greeley, Colorado. And one way over the course of the week, we learned a lot about archaeology, and archaeologists have to do a lot of things to make sure the site is secure and make sure that the way that they excavate is safe towards the site and towards themselves. And so one way we were thinking to kind of replicate that is small sandboxes provided to every participant, and they would be, well, obviously filled with sand, but we'd construct walls on the sand and maybe bury copies of arrowheads or sherds, and the participants could dig these up in the same way that archaeologists would dig up any actual artifacts. And we thought this was a good idea because it would be a hands-on experience of what archaeologists do in the field.
Great, a lot of hands-on.
Hi,
name is Liz, and I live in Westminster, Colorado. I think the National Park Service and other historical culture managers can make their sites and programs more engaging for my age group by adding technology to historical sites. Use computer software or games to show what a site might have looked like. For example, it can be difficult to understand that many sites were several stories tall. This could let kids see it in many different ways without changing the original structure. You could use the solar panel to power the feature at the site. I think this could be a great way to engage kids my age. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Hannah Chin. I go to Most Precious Blood School and I'm from Denver, Colorado. Having physically interactive activities help children and adults have more enjoyment at historical sites. Our idea was to have a book containing pictures and information about all the ruins from past to present. The book will follow the ordinary life of a Native American child. For example, you would start as a child, and as the game goes on, you would go into adulthood. Throughout the tour, it would introduce you to different buildings. Our idea incorporates the option of having fun social time, but still expanding the knowledge of your brain. We would think that Hoven Weep and Lowry Pueblo would be a very good place to put our idea into action because it is relatively small. But Mesa Verde would be a very big place and would not work so well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Bridget McNamara and I live in Denver, Colorado. And maybe you could do like a camp for that. And also we met Becky and she beaded stuff and she also taught us or told us like about how her grandma, like the weaved bowls that her grandma made. So we think that it would be nice if they made a camp for beading and weaving and a camp for how to use the weapons and tools that ancestral Puebloans used. And this is an active way to learn about the culture of the ancestral Puebloans and about the ancestral Puebloans. Thank you.
Thank you. We're really talking about what heritage-related activities for youth. Are there comments from the panel on those two observations, that they like Play-Doh and hands-on and doing things like that, for any of our site managers? Any questions? All right, our next question is really sort of how you bring it home from the Earth Group. And we've chatted about this a little bit, but I know they're prepared to answer. What technology and social media tools do you use frequently, and how would you recommend these tools be best used by historic site managers and others?
Hello, I'm Zachary Dosklos, and I live in Arvada, and I go to Excel Academy Middle School. My group's idea was to create a was to create a scavenger hunt to go around to different national parks around just different states that have national parks, and we could connect this by use social media by using Facebook, and you could go and look, and it would give you like a map of different national parks, and it would give you 3 artifacts that you'd have to find, and you would go back and like report to whoever is hosting the scavenger hunt, and you would have to give them the 3 artifacts, and you would maybe you would win a prize of getting a free prize, I guess, to go to a different national park, and you could go there for free or something, and you could get another experience for another national park.
So another scavenger hunt, 2 groups.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Meehan. I live in Lakewood, Colorado, and we were thinking that we could use Pinterest to post different pictures about different foods from different Native American cultures and their recipes. Because Pinterest is mainly for girls, but boys can go on too, we would play to the audience and make it crafty. Also, a new addition is that you can now map out the location. For example, if one of these recipes were from a national park or a monument, you could click on a link to that park or monument, and you can, if you create a page about these parks, then you would be able to look onto that information. Also, these could get used out to these parks, and they could learn about cultural foods and the sites and want to protect them.
Great. Thank you. Any comments on the social media technology? They talk about this all the time in every activity we do, and they're of course the experts in it. Thank you. You group can go. And from the fire group, to connect people to historic places, the question that they've been working on this week is, if you had to promote or brand or market the places and stories you've experienced, what tagline would you use?
Hi, I'm Sydney Marchando. I go to Rock Canyon High School in Highlands Ranch. And so the first tagline we chose was for Chimney Rock, and we decided that it would be, instead of watching the smoke come out of your chimney, watch the moon come out of ours. And we chose this to really market the astronomy that can be viewed at Chimney Rock, and that's like one of the main characteristics that really sets it apart and distinguishes it from many of the other sites in the area, and that's really what made it unique to us.
Hi, I'm Kelsey, and I go to Mullen High School in Denver, and the tagline my group came up with for the Adobe House Farm was "Live, Love, and Eat Organic." And on our first night, we went to the Adobe House Farm, an all-natural and organic farm, and it produces food for local farmers markets. And getting the word around about the farm, we feel would really support local communities.
Nice.
Hello, I'm Jacob Johns, and I go to North Glen High School, just north of Denver. For the Lowry Pueblo and the Canyons of the Ancient Monuments, we decided to use the slogan of "Let the history of our dead live through the mouths of the living." We chose it because on our experience at these places, we had many experiences, and that the ancestors of the ancient Puebloans talked to us about what they needed and what their experiences were with these places.
It's me again. So the slogan that we chose for the Anasazi Heritage Center was "Live Their Lives," because the center offered like a lot of really unique opportunities to experience how the lives of the Pueblo people were, such as using a loom for weaving, or grinding corn on the mano and metate, or exploring the Escalante Pueblo, or even just seeing the collections of artifacts from the sites around the area. So we thought that that would really connect the visitors to how it was for the Pueblo people in their time.
Hi, I'm Taylor Langlet, and I go to Mullen High School in Denver. So the tagline we chose for Hovenweep was "Focus on creating stories, not recreating the ruins." And when Hovenweep, we talked to Cheryl Kinner-Ferris and her team, and they were really adamant about stabilizing the buildings and not like rebuilding them. Like when we went to Chimney Rock and other places, they added a lot of the structures to what they thought it would be like, which is nice for visual aids, but it's kind of nice to see what the actual, like what it would actually be like, what they actually made like 800 years ago. So they keep it very original, and we found this unique about Hovenweep, and it makes it stand out among the other ancestral Puebloan sites.
Hi, my name is Andrea Zaragoza. I go to Mullen High School. And the tagline for Mesa Verde National Park that we chose was, "Rather than dwell in the past, visit the dwellings at Mesa Verde." The meaning behind this tagline is to not keep dwelling in the past because the inhabitants are not there, but instead experience and absorb the dwellings there because the culture is still very much alive.
Very well done. I think you all have a future in marketing. We'll have to share those with Mesa Verde Country and some of the marketing sides of that. Any questions for them on taglines, or any of your organizations need some other help with your messaging? These are the people for you. Thank you very much. Good job. As you could see, we're all about building leaders. Our next section really triggers the theme of enhancing leadership and enhancing stewardship, which is really a very important role for our SOS, what drives all of our curriculum and program. So what our first question is going to be answered by the water group, if you could join me. And what their question was, which was a call to action I gave them the first day, which is what do they think could be a call to action to get more people to be champions for preservation and to be our next leaders in that. So I'm going to welcome the water group. Sophia, Monica, Christian, Brendan, and looks like, oh no, here we go.
Does that one work?
Yes, they both work and you can roll.
Oh, cool. Hello?
It's not working.
It's not working.
Can we take this one?
Use this one.
Do you guys want to use this all first? Yeah.
So my name is Brendan Lynch, and I'm from Jefferson Academy.
My name's Troy Gallagher. I'm from Green Mountain High School.
Hi, my name's Christian Shackley. I'm from Greeley Central High School.
Good morning, I'm Sophia. I'm from Mullen High School.
My name is Monica, and I am also from Mullen High School.
So we decided that the call to action to create champions for preservation involves several steps, and the first step is bringing people to archaeological sites. So basically working from the inside out, because the actions of peers will influence their other peers. So it's like a chain reaction. So basically people come in and they learn about the cultural resources and the archaeological landscapes of these areas, these amazing areas. They do what we kind of did this week, where we gained so much knowledge. And then they go out and learning about these areas will increase their knowledge and their appreciation for these areas. And that ignites a passion for these areas and for preserving these cultures. So like I said, passion and teamwork, those are two characteristics of champions, we decided. And that is what we're trying to do, is create champions for preservation. So here are some of the ways in which we plan to take the first step to bring people to the park. So one way that we want to bring young kids to the national monuments is through requiring the kids around the Four Corners, to have volunteer hours to graduate from high school. I think it would be a great way to get them down here, and it would also look good on a college resume. So more on that.
And volunteering at the sites sort of connects us to the sites, right? As we've experienced through our time in the Youth Summit, which has been amazing, by the way. One thing I would like to say is that the youth are our future, right? Therefore, without any youth in the national monuments, they have no future. So if we can instill a passion within those students, we can ensure the preservation of these monuments for a long time to come.
And so when these kids come to volunteer, they'll be educated on the national monuments and like the Youth Summit. And when you're educated, you find a passion in that and you want to become a champion for that preservation. And so that's a really good way for us to help bring more champions to these preservations.
So another thing that we saw that a lot of the different services could really improve on is the advertisement. And what we would really like to see is advertisement of individual things at the sites. Like Mesa Verde has wonderful, huge, very well preserved sites, but say the Chimney Rock has the moon coming up in between the rocks, and that is another really individual thing that would be amazing for people to know about, which really we don't know about otherwise. And another thing we saw is when we went to the private companies around the area, a lot of them didn't have the brochures to advertise for the different parks, and we think that it's necessary to advertise for the private companies in the private companies, because that's where people go and that's how they're going to get their information.
Another idea that we'd like to bring to the table would be overnight camps or week-long camps, just like what we did with the Youth Summit, but open to the public and stuff like that. And in these camps, we would have tours all over different areas and different monuments, showing, and the people on those tours would be people from all different perspectives. So we would have people with a cultural affinity to the sites telling us about it and telling us about their people, and we would also have archaeologists telling us about how they preserve it and their views on what they should do with the monuments.
So one of the first activities we did this week was we heard from Kinder Morgan on their perspectives on energy and how we should use the land. Later on, we went to Hovenweep and we learned about different members from the Hopi tribe on how they thought we should respect and preserve the land and their thoughts on that, along with an archaeologist. And that was really interesting, and it helped to educate all of us.
The Youth Summit has given us passion. It has shown us national monuments, and has shown us what it means to us. Yeah, right here in the heart. And we believe that these overnight camps, these week-long camps, would have the same effect on those youth.
All right, so the other idea we have to bring people to the parks to get them to help out is kind of a tour bus system. Like you see tour buses with, sadly, mainly elderly people, not really the younger ones. You see them coming around from the Four Corners area up to mainly Mesa Verde. I don't see them in many other parks, but basically that kind of system going around.
So what we're picturing is a system where we would have a bus round trip going to like Hovenweep and Mesa Verde and all the different sites in the area so that people would be allowed to experience more than one site and to share the visitors.
Oh, cool. Yay! So what we want to do is we want to have all the parks associated pretty much with each other and like have them share the wealth and share pretty much all the tourists and share knowledge with many other people.
So we would want them to associate with all the sites and make sure that everyone knows what's happening so that at each of the sites they're learning new things and building upon the story, because that's what's important in history, isn't the individual sites. Those sites are great, but what has to happen is we have to see the whole picture, because that's where we actually learn and actually feel what's happening. So thanks for listening to Ideas.
Yes. From the Chimney Rock.
Hello. So first off, I'd like to compliment all of you. I see lots of energy and enthusiasm today, so great job. So definitely lots of interest and passion from you guys here today. So my question is, maybe moving a step forward, how do we keep the youth? How do we keep you guys engaged and passionate about championing preservation and coming back to work for us in the future?
This mic moves too, and it does work.
This one? Thanks. Okay, I'll take that question. We're all really passionate, and I think the big reason is that we got to come down here and do this for ourselves. We got to throw atlatls and actually throw them too, not just the spears. And we got to do a lot of hands-on work, and that really helped us to understand that people lived here, and it showed us really intimately like that this is a culture and we're a part of that, and we get to learn about that and just see for ourselves what it's like.
Could I say something as well? So we already have the passion instilled in us. So maybe one way that you could keep us coming back to these sites would be to keep in contact with us. Tell us what's going on. Maybe we could give you just our email address. Addresses, thank you. And tell us about volunteer opportunities, or tell us about tours that you're giving that we could come and be a part of.
And also, how you bring us in is with saying that there's a bunch of fun stuff and there's fun opportunities, so hands-on experiences. But how you have us stay is you tell us the really cultural experiences, like hearing from Peter Pino and hearing the different experiences in the Native American culture and really attaching to our soul. And that's how you get us to stay.
Great. And by the way, I've already given them your email addresses. They're in your packets.
Oh, cool.
Great presentation. My question is, one of the issues with getting young people to come to places like here and other national parks is access and funds to get to those sites. Did you all consider during your deliberations developing a volunteer service program around developing maybe a Kickstarter proposal to raise money for economically disadvantaged young people and people that don't have access to these sites? And if you didn't consider it, would you consider it?
I think that by combining almost a couple of ideas with like the volunteer systems and like the bus system, I think that would be a great idea to go about that. Basically, it would just connect
different sites and different people to sites so that they could learn about it. They could volunteer there. It could become part of who they are and what they do, so that they are passionate about it. So I think really like transportation, like providing transportation through bus systems would be a great way to do that.
We're going to talk a little more about service also. Service is really important to us. Any other comments?
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Sorry, just one more question. When I was in high school, I was a total history dork. Just want to put that out there. And I went to CU Boulder, and I remember when I got there, trying to figure out how to have a career in this kind of passion. You guys are talking about passion, and you should all strive to have a career compassed by the passion you're talking about today. And one thing I remember was buried in all of my schoolwork at CU, and this is for those of you who are able to move on to college or whatever you pursue. It was really hard at that time to focus on summer jobs, to figure out how to get into a Park Service job, Forest Service job, BLM job. And I would encourage all of you, when you go back to your school districts and talk with your guidance department, is ask them. I think the missing piece that I remember was there was no one in my school district, let alone at CU Boulder, who could capture me and say in that archaeology class, hey, you should look into applying to work for the feds. It's a really daunting website. It's called USA Jobs.
If I can just add on to that, your presentation reminded me of something that the second director of the Park Service said when he left. In his resignation letter, he said, don't allow the Park Service to become just another agency. Keep it youthful and keep its energy high. And what I encourage you to do is, the Park Service is about to celebrate its 100th anniversary in 2016. Save us from ourselves, because this agency, after 100 years, has become very bureaucratic. And it needs your enthusiasm. It needs your ideas. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I know I met with you guys on Tuesday, but for someone who grew up in Texas, although I studied Native American culture, I was never able to experience it. And you guys are blessed to live in a place where you can come and visit these places close by. Another thing, the industry I work in, the oil and gas industry, although it is our duty to responsibly extract minerals, when you're sitting in Houston, you can't appreciate it. And when I moved up here 4 years ago and started working with people like Marietta, I really started to appreciate it. And in my opinion, safety and environmental stewardship are primary. It's paramount. And if you do those things right in our industry, then everything else will follow suit. I want to applaud you guys for having the initiative and the interest to come in, and I can tell you guys really learned a lot and had a great experience here. And although the Park Service and the BLM might want you as employees, I think we do too. So keep that in mind and carry this passion with you, because it really makes a difference in our industry even when you're working on a multiple use federal land.
Yes, Mariana.
One last comment here. No youth, no future. That's a really good tagline. I really appreciated that. And I've been really inspired this week, and we do want you to come and volunteer and intern for us. We host interns and we have housing, and, we're lucky that way. But if you're interested for any of the agencies that are here, go online and contact us, and let's have a conversation, see what your interests are.
I think we're going to tie in the next question, which is really about service. So thank you. Those were great ideas and well done.
Hey, I have a remark
sorry.
about staying in touch with the park. And I know Carol will probably cringe. Carol, our chief of interpretation and visitor services back there. The park does have a Facebook page, and you can connect with us and contact. Are you aware of that?
Yeah.
Okay. It's you search for Mesa Verde National Park. Don't stop at Mesa Verde because you'll get our concessioner, and Yeah. But so Mesa Verde National Park. Type that in, and you connect. You'll see the arrowhead there, and you can keep in touch with everything going on here in the park.
Great. Thank you.
And I have one other question,
Oh, yeah.
or I have just a comment. My name's Ron Hass. I'm the executive director of Southwest Conservation Corps. Of the group here, just as a whole, how many of you have heard of the Conservation Corps in Colorado? Excellent. Have any of you guys participated at this point?
Well, we actually had dinner with your crew the other night.
Well,
so
I know
that's-
that. So I already have the shameless plug then for if you liked your experience this week. Southwest Conservation Corps is one of 8 conservation corps in Colorado and one of hundreds in the country that are working to do conservation and preservation work. And we need people, young people like you, to do that work. And so I encourage you to take a look at our website and just actually just Google conservation corps, and you'll see a whole wealth of new opportunities emerge. So we look forward to seeing the same faces in a few years, or maybe even next year. So thank you.
Thank you. That's such a perfect lead-in, Ron, to our next group. So thank you. Our next question with enhancing leadership and stewardship is how can students be better mobilized through service projects to help work to preserve historic and prehistoric places? And who could be the first point of contact in the community to make this happen?
Okay, so my name is Claudia DiMartini, and I go to Holy Family High School in Broomfield.
My name is Jocelyn Kilman, and I go to Douglas County High School in Castle Rock.
My name is Seth Jensen, and I go to Broomfield High School in Broomfield.
And one of our ideas was to have sort of a student exchange program, and we were inspired to do this when we went to Hovenweep National Monument, and we met with a group of Hopi preservationists, and they invited us to come out and hear them talk about the sites and what work was being done to preserve them. And I just think that that was a great experience that a lot of students would really enjoy, but they just don't get the opportunity to. So I think we need to create more of these opportunities for students, because being immersed in the culture and hearing about these sites and these places from a different perspective than you normally would, from the perspective of the Native American people, is just a great experience. And I think the first point of contact in the community should be Boy Scout leaders and Girl Scout leaders and people working in schools to try and get kids interested, and also people in the Native American community that could try and arrange things on that end. So.
And then with this program, there would be required service days where you would help out the community. The community would tell you what help they need to repair or maybe garden or something, and they would get to choose it.
So another idea we had is kids would go to national parks across the country, and they would shadow people's jobs. For example, the superintendent Cliff Spencer here, and for a few days they would see what he does, learn what he does, and then after those few days they will apply what they learn, and they'll be like tour guides or a junior park ranger for a few days, and that's how they'll get their service in. And as far as funding for this goes, and contact, the National Park Service would be number one, and for economic, for money, we would do organizations and companies that support preservation and historical learning.
Great. Good ideas. Any other comments about service and how we could get more of their age group involved with service projects? As you heard, they love service. They loved pulling weeds yesterday.
I hope you guys don't mind me just asking a bunch of questions, but I mean, I'm really inspired, and I'd like to just put just a shameless request in. If you've got your ideas about how to engage your age group in volunteer service, I really need to know those ideas for the sake of, satisfying what my boss wants me to do, which is get more of you guys involved in volunteer service, because I think it's really important that we have, especially at the teenage level, developing that ethic of giving service to your country. We tend to think of service as being just military service, but really service to your country can be in a lot of different forms. And one way is through historic preservation and cultural heritage preservation. So my email is george_mcdonald@nps.gov. And please send me all your proposals. Thank you.
I did give them your email. Do any of our other students have a comment about service, since you've just been challenged by that? Oh, does this mean it's the time to call on someone? Okay,
Can I comment?
yes.
Okay, so as teenagers, we're always wanting to act as the adult and kind of grow up and be that adult. And if we were to be able to shadow someone and learn what they do, eventually we would know what they do and we'd be able to act like them and help out the park by volunteering.
Okay, so through shadowing. Yes. Okay, yeah.
Hi, I'm Navina from BCP, and this is my first year doing this, and I'm going to be a senior next year. And I learned so much from this program. I've never heard of it, and I feel like if we just spread this program around and people get involved.
She's not a plant.
I know that I want to do more from this program. This program motivated me and passionate. Like, I learned so much from Native American people, and coming from a third world country, I want to make a difference. This program's just one step forward. So just like the basics, right on the basics, and spreading around this program that we have right here, I think can just make a change in our youth. Like getting us around the schools and making it a requirement. So Mullen, at my school, we have 100 hours of community service, and I think just making this available and open to people and getting the word out. Just this program.
Thank you. We've heard from you, Victoria. Yeah, go. And then we'll hear from you in a minute.
Okay, so I went to Holstrom when I was in elementary school and middle school, and one of my teachers was actually Miss Pearson. I don't know.
She's here, yeah.
And I have to say, I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces from Holstrom that I've known for like a really long time that have gone to Holstrom before. And I would have to say, like, I think if you get teachers involved, like Miss Pearson, because if you ask any Holstrom kid why they are here, they would say Miss Pearson. I would think that if you could get more teachers involved and get kids more motivated to do this and actually try and like be an example, then more kids would want to do something like this to help out. That's an A+, Sam.
One more. Yes.
Well, I also went to Holstrom for elementary school and middle school, and I was in a club called NJHS, which is National Junior Honor Society. And every year you were required to do 20 hours of community service. Sadly, isn't as much as their schools. And I honestly think it should be more. And when I do my hours, I actually do more than the required, but I always forget to fill out the sheet to put them on there. And I've actually learned a lot doing community service because there's some things that like you can't do even though you're volunteering. Like you can't. I volunteered at the library for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade with Ms. Israelson. Sorry.
Okay, that's good.
And I was allowed to fill out those hours, but I learned so much just being able to do those hours.
Thank you. Okay, well, I think, was there, no. Oh, I'm sorry. You have ways you can raise your hand. I knew there was someone else. Yes, go.
Okay. So I think, like, along with what Navina was saying, I think if we really spread the word about this program, we would get people, like, we would start the interest in it, and then once they come, they'll want to keep coming back. And I think that's how we get kids who are really interested in this to do service for the park. It's like just let them know what's out here with like programs like what we have this week, and then that'll get them coming back once we know and we're like really passionate about the area.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I
think
make a comment, please?
Yes, of course.
Hi, Brian Drapo, Bureau of Indian Education. We, along with what everybody's saying, we also wanted to talk about youth opportunities as well. And one of the things that we did from the Bureau of Indian Education is that we set up what we called an ambassadors program. And we brought in young people from different universities across the United States, and we trained them for probably 2 weeks, and then created a lead for them back into their communities, and then we paid them a small stipend, quite frankly, a couple of $100, and their job was to fill out reports each week of the number of touches that they made to their colleagues, to their friends, to their families, any conversation that they could log to say, we talked about this program and what's being offered in this place. And they earned their money, and as a result, we ended up having over 5,600 new people interested in what we were doing, because really we were looking at recruiting teachers and putting young people in a line to become teachers and learn more about the Native American communities that we serve across the United States. And so that program continues to go forward, but it's a powerful way at a very low cost to have that one-on-one focus, and the results spoke for themselves.
Great, thank you. We're going to shift gears a little bit from service to talk about our public lands. This week we were with the United States Forest Service, the Bureau of Land Management, the National Park Service, and we talked about the balanced use of public lands and the young people's role in that. So this question is, public lands may have multiple uses: preservation, extraction, recreation, agriculture, conservation, culturally affiliated activities, and other uses. How can youth play a role in responsible management of all of these resources and the uses of public lands?
Hi everybody, my name is Colton Stevens and I go to Boulder High School. And one of our big things is that we need to get youth involved in responsible management, but some of the youth aren't interested by themselves, so we need to instill something, a passion of some sort, and make them want to get more interested. So obviously school is an important place, and it's a place where we can reach a large number of students. So if we send in guest speakers, and they can talk about a variety of topics, from archaeologists or Native Americans, and just enlighten the kids on their specific field of study or culture. They could teach the kids and encourage them to visit the sites themselves, and this would make an impact on the children and hopefully make them talk to their friends and get other people into the program as well.
Hi, I'm Lexi Lanus from Boulder High School as well. So these guest speakers that would go into high schools, into their history classes, could do activities such as the one we did in the Anasazi Center earlier this week, where we each had a little piece of paper that told us like an interest group in public land, such as a rancher or an oil and gas company or a Native American group or a archaeologist group. And we went from all these opinions in our group, and we all find a common solution on how to use these public lands and work together. And we thought this would be a great activity to do for kids in school, so they could learn about the use of their public lands, which are theirs because it's all of our land. So hopefully when they grow up and go to voting age, and they can know about this and be responsible stewards of our public lands that we all love to enjoy.
Hi, I'm Maureen McNamara. I go to George Washington High School in Denver, Colorado. And along with what they were saying, we think that interactive activities would be a really good way to get youth involved and get them to have a passion and really understand the history and importance of these sites. And all of us really enjoyed throwing the atlatls, as was mentioned before, so we think that maybe the guest speakers could bring atlatls or teach kids how to weave baskets or make pottery, or this could even happen at the sites more often or at the powwow in Denver. And we also think that because this area is really close to the Four Corners, that we could have a big event or some sort of organization of a bunch of people from New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah, and this could be open to the public. It'd be a good way to get different perspectives and learn from other people, and we could also do a lot of fundraising there. And we definitely think these are effective ideas because last year at the Youth Summit, Haley and I Really learned a lot from the interactive activities and hearing from the guest speakers at Amache. And we created our National History Day project on that. And we just won first place in state, and we'll be going to nationals tomorrow. So yeah.
Hello, I am Hunter Shea, and I also go to Boulder High School. And in adding to getting the youth more involved, we would recommend the establishment of a youth advisory council, which would be composed of a diverse group of middle and high school students in and around Montezuma County. This council would give students the opportunity to advise the National Park Service, the Bureau of Land Management, and the National Forest Service on making policy decisions for the future, and it would also give the students a greater appreciation for historical preservation and the necessary roles and responsibilities needed for preserving a historic site.
Hi, I'm Erin Anderson. I'm also from Boulder High. So along with what everyone else in my group has said, getting youth involved and being more responsible also comes from knowing both sides of the history from the Native Americans and from archaeologists and from, I guess, the general public. It's very important to for the youth to approach these kind of responsibilities with a more wiser and educated outlook on things, so they're not biased, or they're able to create an accurate representation of what we're all learning here. And one of the things that I think would be great, I know a lot of the sites that we went and saw are named not, they're great names, they're just more of not accurate to the Native American culture. So I think maybe making more accurate names and more accurate just places like that would be very beneficial.
So if we start I'm Haley Chin, by the way, and I also go to George Washington High School. If we start educating youth at a really young age about the significance of responsible management, it'll become more instinctual for them to respect the historic sites. And so we really want to bring it to the schools and start off young. And also, as the superintendent of Mesa Verde mentioned, it's the habit of our parents' generation to always go see the movie at the visitor center. So we want to instill a habit in the younger generation to visit, promote, and respect all these historic sites and public lands.
Great. Thank you. Any comments from the panel on their introduction to public land management? Yes, Richard.
Well, actually, in that interactive simulation of negotiation, that's actually what a Deputy State Historic Preservation Officer does. And I just got through negotiating 3 agreements with the Army for their use of Fort Carson and related lands in Pinyon Canyon. And we had a variety of groups from Not One More Acre, who doesn't want the Army there at all, to a number of Indian tribes that have ancestral histories inside that area, to a variety of local groups. And the challenge we had, and we actually, I think over the next 3 to 4 years, I think we've got a good success of it, is how do you have the ability to train 5,500 troops on a landmass that's about the size of Rhode Island, while they're running all sorts of large tanks and other kinds of vehicles around this landscape, and at the same time respect 8,000 different historic and prehistoric sites there. And I think you can do it, but it really does take that kind of interactive and truthful engagement that you all are talking about. And I challenge all of you all as citizens and as people who may be employed in these endeavors to think, how do we do this? It is an incredible question. And so I really appreciated your thoughts on that.
Oh yes, sorry, Julie Coleman.
Hi, I have a question that maybe Peter can help us with. I know that Anne really wanted to have Native American kids be involved and try to keep them engaged, because you guys all learned a lot from the Native American perspective, but I think, they're giving a lot, but I think, if we could get the Native American youth involved as well, it would be really great to have their participation, and they can learn also and carry some of the messages back to Indian country. And so, you know, I tried to help Anne outreach to some of the tribes and try to get some interest, but maybe Peter could, you know, give us some suggestions on how better to do that in the future.
I think the direct contact would be the best way to get Native American students to participate in this program. I think it's an excellent program. I think it gives youth an opportunity to have a say and be able to learn from their own experiences. And I think if Native American students were involved, the learning would be mutual and there would be greater respect among the youth that come from different cultures. So I think if you make the contacts directly to the tribal offices, I think you would get participation. And another program that has leadership programs for the youth is the Futures for Children, and they're based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. So you could contact them. I could tell them about this program and see whether there would be some interest so that maybe Native Americans can participate in this program next year.
Thank you. Yes, we were. Thank you, Julie, for the work you did on that. And several of our other partners, we reached out and we were disappointed not to be able to involve some other youth here. So, yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, so with our proposed Youth Advisory Council, we would also include Native American children and students involved. We definitely want a diverse group, so we'd reach out to all ethnicities to get involved in service projects and advising the National Park Service and so forth.
Also, I don't remember who was talking about this, but they said that we're young and like our minds haven't been polluted with certain information. So I think if both Native Americans and other people, like a diverse group like Hunter was saying, was on the council, it'd give everybody a different perspective and allow them to get a more open-minded view of the sites before they close their minds.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, in adding this advisory group and thinking out of the box a little bit leads to our next question, which is also about leadership and stewardship. And it's what happens when a park or a publicly managed site has a far greater impact than the physical boundaries, affecting people's culture, scientific research, tourism, educational values, and the environment. How can you help make responsible stewardship of public lands a national priority?
All right, my name is Winter Roybal, and I attend Pueblo West High School, and I'm a senior, and it's in Pueblo West, Colorado. And so what I wanted to address first is that over the week we visited several different historical places and sites and monuments that have all had breathtaking views and cultural experiences for all of us. But we also recognized a lot of issues along our travels. We noticed that there was a lack of visitors at some of the sites as opposed to other sites like Mesa Verde. And we also noticed there was a lack of Native American influence coming to regular visitors because we as Youth Summit members were graced with the presence of people like Peter Pino to share their culture and their experiences as Native Americans with us, but not every tourist coming to the park gets to experience that. So in order to be a good steward of the national parks, we have to show some sort of respect and create an awareness among people, especially youth, for those sites.
Awesome. So one of our big things is stewardship is connection, and it's not only to the land but also the people. So one of the big issues that we saw while we were visiting is that there was a lack of Native American interpretive park rangers. For us, for me personally, one of my best experiences was at Hovenweep with Hopi people who were telling us their perspective on the structures, and that really gave me a whole new insight and mindset to think about it. And in Mesa Verde, which is obviously one of the biggest parks in Southwest Colorado, there's only one full Native American interpretive ranger, and there's 4 partial.
Native American interpretive rangers. And we feel that that is an issue. And when you said that you might go into that, we thought that was a great idea because it really does give us such a new insight and appreciation for what we are looking at.
Hi, I'm Navina from Peak to Peak, and my idea was stewardship is generation. We went to a place where a lady was bead making, and she talked to us about bead making, and she was a Native American mountain Ute, and she quoted, "How do you know who you are if you don't know who you were?" And I think that's something really important, is to spread the information out for people to understand where they come from. Our history makes us who we are, and if we forget about it, then what's the point of our future if we don't even know who we are? I think it's something really powerful what she said, and we believe that stewardship is getting people out here and caring. We just need to care more about ourselves and people around us to find who we are within.
Okay, hi, I'm Rachel. I go to Legacy High School, and that's in Broomfield. So my big idea was stewardship is communication. On Tuesday, we met with a representative from Kinder Morgan, and he talked about how they were making some new plants and some CO2 plants that they already had up. And I am really interested in engineering. It's something that I might want to go into, so I kind of looked into it. And Kinder Morgan is so fantastic at communicating with the places around them, like the archaeological sites and the tribes, the Native American tribes around them, and the parks around them, to make sure that they are not disturbing something that doesn't need to be disturbed, and while at the same time being able to make money and being able to produce some resources that we all need, obviously. So, and one of our recommendations was that we think more people should know how great that communication is between those two realms of this fantastic place, because not very many. A lot of people assume that the communication between those two realms are just, it's non-existent, but it's such a great communication. Another thing that I had is that the brochures that we saw in some of the parks, such as, hope you guys will think I'm weird because I'm really passionate about brochures. So I'm so weird, but so like Hope and Weep and some of the other parks that we visited, they had some brochures. And some of them, I looked at them and I was like, oh, I know what that font is. Oh, I know how to make that on PowerPoint. Like, I was like, oh, I can make this. And I feel like there should be more pictures in the brochures and more, it should be more of an interactive thing. We kind of thought about having like a turkey thing in there that would be like what are those things called? Mascot, thank you. Like a mascot within the brochures. Just something a little bit more interactive within the brochures, just to make them a little bit more fun, because youth think they're kind of dry. Another thing is, sorry, another thing is that Instagram is so huge right now, especially on our phones. I kind of feel naked right now because I don't have my phone on me, but I go on Instagram a lot, and I was going to post some pictures that I took at Hope and Weep and Mesa Verde around the park. There's no Wi-Fi. I was like, oh, I want to Instagram this. And I was like, wait, I can't Instagram this right now. I have to wait till I get back to the hotel, and then I obviously forget because I'm that kind of person. But we think that one, there might be some Wi-Fi within the park so that it's easier to post those pictures, because it's kind of free advertising for you guys, especially with hashtags in Twitter and Instagram and Facebook now. So we thought that you could put hashtags, what hashtag you want them to post with the picture that they're posting in brochures and on those informational signs that you see throughout the parks. Like, if you take a picture of this, put hashtag Hope and Weep or hashtag Oak Tree House or something like that, because it's basically free advertising for you guys, and then everyone knows that they need to put it there. And then another one is also hashtag Preserve Co, because everyone loves hashtag Preserve Co, and I've used it like 6 times this week. So I think that's just a really big overarching idea.
Great, thank you. Yes, any comments on that? That was a lot of different ideas. That was very creative. Thank you. Any comment? Yes, Peter. Sorry.
I appreciate your comments about more Native American presence as tour guides at the national parks. Somebody said earlier that sometimes maybe the Park Service dwells on the past, but it's a living culture. And living that culture gives you many experiences that could be shared with the general public that would make it more informative. And I think I appreciate those comments. I encourage the youth of Zia to pursue college education and to work for the federal government, Park Service in general, because we do have a connection to these places and we do have a story to tell. And every opportunity that I personally get, I take that responsibility to heart. And just a general comment to all the presentations, I think I've communicated and connected with more than one person with one concept, one word, one idea. And like Richard said, he had a brainstorm and remembered something that happened 45 years ago. That's what I was talking about yesterday. If you remember 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, then the people that you listen to have communicated and you've learned. And there's a lot of things that you've said in your presentations that showed me that you did learn and you show a lot of promise for this country and the world as a whole. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your presentations. And I've learned from you as well. We learn from one another. We draw strength from one another, and I've drawn strength from you all. And I hope that in some small way that you've drawn strength from me as well.
Thank you. Yes.
I agree with your comment about having more Native American tour guides, if you will. And I'm glad you guys recognize that. One of my most memorable experiences is I went out to the Zia Pueblo, and Peter took me out into this open field, and there really wasn't anything there that I could see. And we spent probably an hour or two just walking around, and we were picking up potsherds and rocks, and I was just listening to Peter. And you know, we didn't have the cliff dwellings to look at. We were looking at the ground, and he was telling me about the history, and it was so powerful. And I'm glad you guys recognize that, because I think that is something that can help the experiences out on these monuments and parks. So, thanks.
Just a little bit of follow-up on that. You know, the communication with between us and Kinder Morgan, it's interesting. It really was Peter Pino and Ernie Vaio that kind of broke the log jam between the communication, because when the Native American voice came in and said, this is why it is important to us, to industry, it had the power to change everything. So really appreciate Peter always, you know, being present and available for these kinds of discussions. And we don't realize ourselves. It's not the same when I'm telling Kinder Morgan what Peter Pino said as when Peter Pino says it. So thank you for your comments on that relationship.
Yes.
Okay, so just one real fast comment. So with Kinder Morgan, with all these people who might want to be archaeologists in the future, I think it's really important that we kind of look at different industries and how our voice through what we might want to do in the future can also affect what they're doing right now. Because especially if we want to bring in voices of Native Americans or of preservationists, you know, we can do that in other fields, and we can help that as well.
Exactly. Well, thank you.
Thank you. I can't.
Now, the grand finale. All of the groups were asked, how will you take a leadership role in making historic preservation more relevant for your peers and for future generations? So all of the groups have representatives coming. Okay.
Can I start?
You can start.
Hi, I'm Emma, and I live in Alma, Colorado, And in my community, there's an organization called Mosquito Range Heritage Initiative, and we do a lot of trail work, and we look at old mine sites and try to preserve them. But it's more for adults and like kids in college. So I was thinking of starting a junior Mr. High program where we get the kids involved in leadership and we do trail work, and we take the knowledge that I learned from this and from the people that run Mr. High and teach it to the kids, and then we get them involved. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm Grace Weber, and I live in Thornton, Colorado. And I wanted to use art classes and art clubs at my school, and because in our school we learn how to paint and draw like Picasso and other artists in previous times. So I was thinking maybe we could talk to art teachers, and we could communicate and maybe have a kind of subject area where we learned or where we did pottery, like with the coil techniques and the black and white painting. And also it might interest kids to go up to the sites and actually see maybe real pieces of pottery.
Hello, my name is Alex, and I'm from Broomfield, and I go to Legacy High School. And on a previous youth summit, I was inspired to take a leadership role and do something my community hasn't seen before. And I applied for the Broomfield Historic Landmark Board and became the youngest person to apply for a board or commission in our city. And I waited, and I got nervous, and I got this letter saying I was denied. The reason being because I was so young, they didn't know what to do with me. So what that meant to me is that since our city didn't know how to handle youth applying for these things to try and be involved in their city and the historic places within it, other cities and communities might have the same issue. And what I feel could happen is more cities might try to get youth involved with their historic landmarks, not even just that, maybe even other boards and commissions as well, and just get involved with the community.
Hi, I'm Dylan Book. I'm going to Bennett High School in Bennett, Colorado. And another idea that I have that we can get kids to be more focused on and the community in on historical sites and memorials is maybe in school, since most kids go to school, to incorporate it in school, like programs like this and programs. One of the programs I'm actually going to this summer is a program called People to People. People to People takes us out to Washington, D.C., shows us all the monuments in Washington, D.C., such as historical monuments, presidential monuments, and war monuments. And I feel if we incorporate this in schools and have this like a natural thing, kids will do and go out to historical monuments and sites and places like this more often. And now I'm going to pass it on to Kennedy.
So school organizations like Student Council, National Honor Society, and National Junior Honor Society are willing to help and want to help. As a current member of Student Council, I will be sure to make my peers aware of community service opportunities and encourage others to do this as well.
Great. All right, our next groups, if you would join us.
So hi, I'm Lydia Baratu. I live in Denver, Colorado, and we are all actually from Overland High School, which is in Aurora, Colorado. So basically, we would take leadership in letting our peers know, and young people in general, by first letting them know about like things like this, about archaeology, about youth summits, and
we would have to do this by using creative ways to reach out to people. And not only that, but once they know, and once they get here, it's helping them like go around from different parks and things like that. The superintendent of Mesa Verde Park, Cliff Spencer, the other day we were talking to him, and he was talking about how it's not only once they get to the parks, but it's transportation and lodging and food. Like it just becomes very like expensive, and it just becomes hard for people to like move around from place to place. And so a big idea for us was to have Groupons where the lodging and the transportation, so like hotels and stuff, they would work together so that we would have like organized ways of people to tour around parks and things like that. And it wouldn't be like, it would still be reasonably priced, but it wouldn't be so expensive and so hard that people would be so discouraged to come here. So yeah.
Hi, my name is Jalitza, and as Lydia mentioned, we're from Overland. And she also mentioned some creative ways to, connecting with our generation. Okay, some creative ways to connect with our generation and future generations. Some ideas we came up with as like everyone said, connecting to the mass media. That is a big key with us right now. So everyone was saying that we could start using the hashtags and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest so that we all could link and connect. Okay, so okay, so for us in Overland, we have like one rising NBA player, Deron Davis, and we could start by reaching out to him because already he's being looked at by a lot of people, and he already has a lot of followers. So we could reach out to him and ask him, hey, can you please take a look at this program? This is an amazing opportunity, and you could get even more sponsors, and they could idolize you for taking care of national parks. And that's another great way of getting volunteers into the parks.
Hi, I'm Julie. So as Julita was talking about, she opened up into the subject of volunteers to getting this to be more relevant for the future generations. I think it's actually a really good idea to have youth involved as volunteers for the Park Service because it's easy to reach out to them because in high school, community service is a big deal to people because it helps with not only them as a human being, but it also helps them get into colleges easier. And so if we start out by getting youth to volunteer more into these parks, then that could get them to be more that could get the parks to be more relevant to them. And also, another way that these parks could be more relevant is if they were presented in a more creative way. And when we were in Hoven, one of the groups presented an idea for more tourists to come if like a replica of the way that Pueblos lived was creative so people could go through the experience. And that's also a great idea because what makes things relevant to people is by them being fascinated with it. And an easy way to gain fascination is if these places were more interactive and engaging. And even the scavenger hunts were a great idea too. It's just if we present these in a fun way, then that will attract more people and that will make this more relevant for our peers and future generations.
And then my name is Abel Yacalo. I also go to Overland. And to close it out, talking about volunteer work and stuff, is knowing what to do with your volunteers, because just having volunteers doesn't promote what you want to happen. And I understand that, I'm assuming that the lady in the back is who runs your Facebook pages, and I believe that it would be a much greater idea if you had young volunteers who ran that for you, because getting volunteer hours just to be on a computer sounds like a pretty good deal to me. And for them to run your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, sounds like a great idea because they know what's in currently. You can, like, almost everybody does. And I think it'd just be a phenomenal idea to use your volunteers in a creative way. And I think that's how we can reach out to peers and take our own leadership stand.
Well, I think you all are leaders. You've proven yourself today with that. Those are lots of great comments. Thank you so much. And again, these were not, I haven't heard these before. They haven't heard it among each other. So are there comments for them on their?
I have a comment. Again, I work for Senator Mark Udall. He's in your congressional delegation. He represents all of you. And I would encourage all of you to consider when you're looking at trying to motivate for any kind of event that you think has a regional impact or has a tremendous, we talked a little bit about working with the celebrity effect of the student in your school. You should also consider your mayor, your city council, your U.S. senator, your congressman. They represent you, and they have media tools to relay messages for you. We do the anniversary of a significant wildfire in a part of Colorado. We're hoping to do a Twitter feed to encourage Coloradans to go to that region. That's what we do. So don't be shy to use your elected officials locally all the way up. The senator has a Denver office, and I think you should always feel like that's a resource for you to promote what you really think has a community benefit.
Hello, my name is Julian Gallardo, and I'm from Pueblo East High School in Pueblo, Colorado. And the answer to the question, like, to be leaders and to keep this information going for future generations is to just, right now I think we just need to start off simple and just, like, bring it up in everyday conversations, like, and show people pictures to the, like, Mesa Verde and just places like that, and just start off simple.
Okay, so not just individuals, but I think that we as Youth Summit people, I don't know, what's a plural for Youth Summit people? Youth Summiteers, we actually need to go to other groups of students that we know are interested in history and preservation, such as history clubs in Legacy High School. Oh, and by the way, I'm Paul Como. I'm from Legacy High School. That's why I just referenced it. So we actually need to go after these large groups of students that are already interested in these historical sites, because they don't have much of a chance as high school students to go out very far beyond their towns and the areas they live in. So being able to, like, tell them how great these places are will probably give them more confidence to go together as a group to these places and search for what is exciting to them.
Hi, I'm Brenna. I'm from Conifer High School, and I never really got into history until I came to the Youth Summit. And through Youth Summit, I figured that my passion in history is the stories. So I started looking, and there's this group up in Conifer in conjunction with the public libraries that has oral histories for the local communities and the people of prominence in our local communities. And I think it would be a great idea to start a program similar to that here, because we, up in Conifer, we have the youth taking the oral histories, documenting the stories of these people, and it would be a great idea to do that in not only Mesa Verde, but in all national parks, get the stories from the people and their experiences with the parks.
Hi, my name is Eric Marsh, and I go to Mullen High School. My idea was to get the national parks out more on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, things like that. Facebook and Twitter, you can have links to their websites or links to their Facebook pages, get people to visit them. And on Instagram, Tumblr, and other photo sharing social media websites, we can have photo competitions with free prizes, maybe like a free visit to a park or something like that, just to get people to share, like, the beautiful scenery here and to show what it's like and to get people interested. And this would work because when you get your friends involved, then they get their friends involved, and it's just it's like a ripple effect, and everybody hears about the parks, and everybody is interested, and so, yeah.
Other comments on leadership? I know everyone's melting now. Probably already melted. Well, thank you, Youth Summit. Those were such creative ideas. Thank you so much. I wanted to acknowledge the teachers that you've heard referenced who have just spent sleepless nights chaperoning kids and also then inspiring them. And I would like our teachers to stand. Jen, Barb, Jim Fig, John, Laura, Sally, Maria, Mike, and of course Michelle Pearson, the teacher liaison for the Youth Summit, who's the Colorado Teacher of the Year, who helps develop the curriculum. A standing applause for our... You're awesome. Thank you so much. I also want to recognize the team that worked to put this program together. I'm the Youth Summit Director, Judy Walden, the tourism guru of the universe, who helps coordinate a lot of things. Of course, Michelle. And you see Shannon Haltwanger running around taking photos, who has led the media and communications team from History Colorado. And we wanted to acknowledge a little bit of a above and beyond effort from Maria Sims from the Boys and Girls Club from South Park, who really helps us organize a lot of these Boys and Girls Club students to come. And then, of course, we can't acknowledge enough of all of the efforts that all of you on the stage and then also in the audience, Scott Travis, where are you now? Yes, all the work you put together for us here at Mesa Verde, and all of you all the hours that you spent to make this meaningful. We want to close by acknowledging the element leaders. And I'd like our element leaders to come forward, please. Okay, this is a competition. You know we love competitions. Who can yell the loudest for their group?
I got a big group. That'll help me. Come on, you're the smallest group. You can do it.
From the Earth Group, Claire Lanier, History Colorado. Wind Group, Rosie. Also from History Colorado. And then Natalie Newman, our Youth Summit alumni, and Christie's History Colorado. And you are fire. And then Earth Group, Brooke from Water. Messing this up all week. Water. Okay, poor Claire. One more time for the Wind Group.
No, Earth.
I'm sorry, I'm losing it. Okay, Earthlings. Oh, that was, I think, you're all winners. This is for Natalie, who put these together. Nice. Yeah, I got it, okay. We want to thank you so much for coming. They've decided on the bus, they do leadership awards within their element groups and have selected emerging leaders from their group that they will be presenting on the bus. And then everybody gets a certificate. Yay. So I want to thank you all. And service hours, of course. Thank you so much for being here and all of your contributions to sit here in the sun right on you. And for your Youth Summit, you did a great job. And we look forward to seeing you again in the future. So with that, get in your element groups and go to your bus. Yay. Oh, I forgot the most, wait, just a second. And this was actually in our notes. I wanted to thank Gary and John, our bus drivers. We are the luckiest group in the universe. John Akers, who has driven the bus at about 6 years of youth summits. We no longer hardly have to tell him anything. He looks at the schedule and he goes, "Oh, I got the directions. It's all fine. You know, I know the back way to Hope Weep. You know, I know that." And then magically, Gary and John disappear and they come back and they say, "Oh, we filled the coolers. It's all fine. And we know where we're going." And then yesterday we had a few little logistic changes and they were like, "Oh, we figured it out." So they are now part of the Youth Summit team and an integral part. So thank you so much for being here.
How about a round of applause for Ann?